Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Tokyo session. This is the metal markets. I'm Mark Stoker D. And yes, it's another heat wave in London, therefore we're working nighttime. Alright, so the bonds have entered a breakout pre-Tokyo range trade. So this was the pre-Tokyo range. It's the same trade that I used to do manually. It's just that now I like to automate certain parts of it. So as I was messing around with the stream and the production and the lights and the camera, the bot decided to go in. So we'll see what happens, right? So let's explain the premise of the setup. When it comes to Tokyo session, I always like to use the pre-Tokyo range kind of as an initial balance of sorts. So the same applies. You break out of that pre-Tokyo range, you have a trade. There are some filters, like volume filters, that I like to use in order to figure out if it's a true breakout or a fake out. So right now, because we still have a lot of headline risk kicking off, breakouts are probably the best bet. During quieter times, I have another bot that effectively looks at kind of the exhaustion volume at the edges of the pre-Tokyo range and then a return. But when you have a super tight pre-Tokyo range, that is not the best choice. And this one, as far as gold goes, is pretty tight. So we're gonna try and not meddle too much into whatever the bot is doing. But I am gonna zoom out a little bit because this is a 5-minute time frame just to see where the next strong gamma level is. So we actually opened right above Tokyo value, way outside of the range. Not strange because yesterday gold went up. Some scope for mean reversion for sure. And I mean, if this gets going, it could easily get to 4100, but we're only aiming for, you know, a smaller chunk of the move here. I'm not going to hold it until the cows come home. It's not that kind of trade. So we're just going to grab some money and run away. Now I do have one of the apexes that is ready for the payout, so maybe we'll do that at some point. But I want to wait until this trade is over, whatever happens to it. Let's see who's in chat. So we have Vital and Rod. Rod is having a day off and he's joining us from New Zealand. I mean, isn't this beautiful? You have people joining from all over the place. So good. How does 10-year note yield affect gold futures? On an intraday level, I would say that you probably won't ever be in a trade long enough for that to concern you. But on a global level, it depends on the interest rates. Obviously, gold has a connection to the dollar as well. Then it depends whether the yields are rising or falling. So it's not like a perfect sort of, you know, negative correlation that you can bank on every single day. It's very much regime dependent. And while it's good to know about, I just don't think you should be focusing on that intraday for your plans. Because, you know, what are we doing intraday? We're taking advantage of small inconsistencies in pricing, right? That's usually what we're doing. So when you look at it from that point of view, you have to like switch your thinking to a much smaller time frame. You know, when you're talking about institutions and hedge funds, you know, they run positional trading and they run some of their positions for like months and months on end. So if you're not doing the same, then there's no real point filling your head with, you know, a lot of macro stuff. Like, it's good to understand the correlations, but, you know, for me, I don't kind of think, oh yeah, what are the yields doing today? That's just not, you know, I might look at it once a month, but when it comes to my trade locations, I'm going to look at, you know, gamma levels today. I'm going to look at value areas. I'm going to look at the pre-Tokyo range for this particular session. I'm going to look at how much average session range we've already traversed on the day. You know, things that can actually help me. So yeah. BDJ says, hey, passed my first eval, top step last night onto Express Funded. Well done. Well done. I wish I had the soundboard here so we can do like an applause, but very well done. Just take it slow, especially for the first few days. I see many people who pass and then they effectively smash the XFA already that week or the same day. So don't do that. Go over your journal, see what the best times of day were for you whilst you were doing the eval, and hopefully you didn't do the eval in 2 days. Because when I was doing the VIP coaching, I had somebody who knew that I'm not too keen on people passing anything in 2 days, and I said, "Oh, well done. How long did you take to pass?" And they went 2 days, but then he also put like some emoji of like Kermit, like Muppet. It was a GIF actually. So yeah, so he's like, yeah, I know, don't shout at me. I'm like, yeah, okay. Eloisa is here. Good evening. Ava, yes, it's the Blahtech membership levels all. Thank you so much. Can I start sessions pre-Tokyo? Guessing most of your audience is US based and trading like 7:30 to 10 p.m. Eastern. I don't know. I think my audience is mixed between US, Australia, Europe. A lot of people in Europe. So normally I run my streams at 7 a.m. Eastern, which is midday. But this is because I trade Tokyo and, you know, I don't get to dictate the times of day when the market mechanics is happening. So I usually pick my streams at the time of the day when I have a good chance of entering a high probability trade. Does that make sense? So if I'm, you know, streaming at a random time, that's like way before I enter, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be sitting here, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you, and I'm not actually trading because it's not my time of day. If you've been here for a hot minute, you know that I'm very, very big on the time of day that dictates the probabilities of the setups, okay? So that's the reason why I do streams at particular times, okay? BDJ says, nope, not 2 days, passed it in 2 weeks. That's perfect. I actually think that 2 weeks is like a perfect middle ground of not rushing, but also not taking forever. So 2 weeks to pass the challenge, excellent. Well done, man. So you're on the good path there. So don't rush. You know what you're doing. You know, try to get, if you're able-bodied, try to get like some gym or something, like weights before you trade, because I feel that that really helps to calm your mind and to get the fight or flight fuel out of your system and less likely to kick off. Alright, so I'm just going to see what our gold is doing here on Bookmap. Nothing, it's kind of slowed down a bit. But we have broken out of the Tokyo, pre-Tokyo range. So we'll see if they can continue on. The delta is still falling, so that's alright, but overall delta is positive. I did see some institutions kicking off here on the break, and that was quite a lot of volume. So that could be, you know, a sign of institutional breakout. Somebody entering with a lot of size or dumping some orders or whatever, yeah. Is my trade based on the initial balance low break? No, Vital, because initial balance won't be done for Tokyo for another 20 minutes. It is based on pre-Tokyo range break. Let me repeat that again. I use the pre-Tokyo range, Globex open up to Tokyo, and that becomes sort of my initial balance. Because the initial balance for Tokyo is not the same as it is for RTH and COMEX. they have a different mechanics. So whilst the initial balances for COMEX are beautiful and you can run failed auctions off of it, most of the time you will see the initial balance of Tokyo that doesn't really have much meaningful context, and then by the time that you're entering some sort of a breakout, it's too late because it's moved away too much during the initial balance. So that's the reason for it, right? Peter says nothing against UK, EU, Australia. No, hopefully not. God. Yeah. Would be nice as a viewer to see you prep for Asia during pre-Tokyo to learn. This is all I do, right? Pre-Tokyo, like, see this rectangle? So literally this is all I do. So Globex open. Take a rectangle. And drag pre-Tokyo range up until 1 a.m. That's all prep that I do. That's it. The rest of the prep is to do with like the volume at the point of a break. So that's not something that you'll be able to see pre-market, right? So you have to wait until the break actually happens. So in this case, the break was this candle, but then they kind of went back and the bot basically decided that that's a good enough spot to enter. And it's using scaling of the average session range over a number of days. And you know, if it was me, I would argue this is pretty, yeah, and it might not work, right? But gold has been going through like an expansion of the range again, so I would be entering with a much bigger stop loss, but the bot decided it's going to enter with whatever this is. Yeah, 44 ticks, man. I don't know. So if we get smacked on the face here, I might actually do a manual trade here. Okay. We have some time here. Because I will be entering with like at least 120 ticks. Like at the very least. Just because the volatility is so high. So yeah, it's probably not going to work. I don't know how it's still alive. How is it still alive? If this survives, this would be like it's a very good TV. But I promised myself I'm not gonna meddle in the bot decisions, right? Because I've noticed every time I meddle, it doesn't really end that great. But yeah, I think 44 ticks. Yeah, so 44 ticks is way too. Ooh, what's going on here? Really? Apparently it's something still streaming. Oh, here we go. Whoa. Ah, this is a bot malfunctioning. Okay, this is interesting. See, I need to have a look at that. Because this would be more like it, right? So I might actually wait until we get a little bit of a reversal on the on bookmap. And then re-enter. But one of them is still in, I think. Yeah, just one. Strange. Alright, let's wait for the bookmap signal and then we're going to be entering manually here. But I'm leaving this one in because this is how I would have done this, you know, like a nice white stop. Give it time to do all the shenanigans and stuff. And then decide. But I'm leaving it as a guide, right? How big is the pre-Tokyo range? Let's have a look. Because I think the pre-Tokyo range is pretty tight. Yeah, that's 76 ticks in an average daily range of 770. So that's not even the 10th of the overall range. But let's wait until this turns around. So I want to see a shave off the delta and some commitment and participation to the downside. I'm trying to quit real vaping, so this is just like a herbal thing. And it's alright, it's helping me do something with my hands. It's been a bit of a challenge because I think nicotine is like a little bit of a nootropic as well. So it kind of wires your head to do stuff. Alright, how much delta are we shaving off? A little bit. It's a nice load of volume here. So what I want to see them exit the pre-Tokyo range as well. So whilst we're still inside it, this could just be a rotational boring day. What chart am I using? I'm using NinjaTrader with Blahtech Indicators, which is my company where we create a whole bunch of cool software. And this one here is Bookmap, order flow. Granular order flow. Peter says, got chopped up on the same gold short trade yesterday, same time. It just ranged for like an hour and ate my stops. So when you say stops, that implies you traded more than one. So this is the problem with range days. Last night, I actually didn't trade anything. But the bots entered a Shanghai breakout on copper. And that banked me about 8 grand yesterday, so that was nice. But yeah, it was like I looked at why the bots didn't do anything, and there was literally no volume. It was just like meandering around doing nothing. So if there's not enough volume, the bots that I create won't be entering breakout trades. If there is enough volume, they will enter a trade. Whether they'll be successful or not, obviously it depends on a number of factors, but usually if there is enough volume there, it should push it to a new level. If there's no participation, that is more range bound day, right? So you don't get a breakout, there's no volume on the break, that tells you whether it's a true break or not. It can be a very good filter. So for example, if I have like rolling volume, and in fact, let's have a look at it from yesterday as well. Might need to scroll back a bit. Yeah, here's Tokyo. So look, pre-Tokyo. So pre-Tokyo range. Let's do the same thing. Here's the open. Pre-Tokyo range. So what sort of volume do you have on the break? No volume, right? It's barely popping slightly above. There's no participation, there's no exhaustion. Even this big candle, there's no volume there. Like nothing is increasing. It's just like flat. But today, the reason why this bot kicked off a trade in the first place is because look at this. So previous volume, nothing, 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 and then boom. Right? So that's what it was looking at. And it was like, yeah, well, institutional volume is here, so let's try a trade. But again, I'm not going to be doing, you know, longs, shorts, longs, shorts. Like if this breaks out to the upside, I'm not going to trade that. Why? Because we already broke to the downside. So that's not what you want to see. It's not a breakout. And in that case, I would be more inclined to actually wait until like 4 a.m. my time or 5 a.m. and then to fade it back the other way. So another short, but at a different level. So you don't want to be chopping yourself up left and right, up and down, if you have a range as a reference. So if both sides of the range trade, that's not a breakout. It's a range trade of some sort. So for me, the only thing that I want to see here is that we exit again to the downside with participation. If we don't, there's no trade here. Maybe I'll try and get like a smaller range trade short or something, or maybe even a range trade long if we get all the way down here. But you know, if it trades both sides, I'm not going to keep smashing trades on both sides trying to catch something. It's like throwing spaghetti at the wall trying to make something stick. And that's the thing about ranges, you know, you have to be very careful. Johnny Buys Land says, hi Dee from Tampa, Florida. Hello, hello. Yes. Is it your real live account? So Vital, on my live account, I generally only trade the final part of COMEX. For all else that is quite risky, I will use prop firms because I can. So we do have a corporate account, which is a different thing, and that's only algorithms, nothing else. So I'm not allowed to touch that manually. I can switch algos on and off, but that's about it. So yeah, this is just prop firms, just showing you that anyone can really get into, you know, some funded accounts and get funded, start getting payouts. And in fact, while I'm talking and while I'm waiting for this to make up its mind, let's see if I can take you through one of the Apex payouts, right? So one of them, I took one, was it yesterday or the day before? And another one has matured. So there we go. Let's do the max payout here, which is $2 grand on this account. There we go. So let's see how long it takes for that to get approved. Not gonna take long. So that's like $4 grand this week, just from Apex. And then I have another couple of trader files that are close. They're close. Where did the other realized loss came from? The smaller stops that were running on the other bots. This one, for some reason, had like a wild 300 or I don't know, 600 tick stop. And for some reason it didn't anchor. Sometimes this happens on Ninja. I've noticed that like some accounts, for some reason the bots don't capture it in time or whatever. I need to have a look at why that happens, but some of them are like correct, and then for others it's almost like there's a disconnect between the actual chart and the strategy that's running it. And I'm running it on multiple charts, so maybe that's why, I don't know. But it does happen occasionally where, you know, you still have like the original, because you see this bot placer thing. So bot placeholder is, and here we go, Apex payout approved. So how long did that take? There you go, approved. Approved. Was it 2 minutes? Not even 2 minutes. So yeah, that's the new Apex dashboard. Quite drama free. No video reviews, no nothing. Follow the rules, get paid. So yeah. That is simple. Peter says, do I have a downside target on gold, or just well, downside target originally was supposed to be somewhere around 41.20, but if this starts to go because of the location of where the next gamma wall is, so we have a moderate put wall at 4100, but also just the regime is just crazy. It's like 770 ticks. for the whole average daily range, but then we have the Tokyo range at 474. So no, like, just, you know, seeing what this wants to do. It could be a range. It could be just, you know, wagging around. Right now it's back into the pre-Tokyo range, so there's nothing to do. Copper might look a little bit more interesting here, but again, the participation is just not there. The volume is non-existent at the moment. Whoa. Jesus. Yeah, so look at the volume on Tokyo, on copper. Can't even see it, right? So obviously I'm not going to be doing breakouts when the volume is looking pathetic. Gold, on the other hand, it looks like there's some institutional interest there, but we'll see. This moving average line is the actual line of the volume, not price, and we're way below that, so there's nothing there for now. All right, so gold is still trying to decide, just chopping around. Maybe we have a look at crude oil as well, if the metals are going to be annoying. And on crude oil, it's going to be like a similar situation, but it's probably going to be a bit slower. Alright, so sorry about the white charts. Can't be bothered. Alright, so all metals are flat at the moment. Crude oil, it has this 72 gamma flip area. If we cannot get above it, there could be more shorts, but considering that the day yesterday was pretty big to the downside, I might want to go for a form of a single print fade at some point. Meaning longs during Asia on crude oil. But we need to have a bit of a Shanghai shakeout first, which is not nearly as bad as it is on, for example, gold. But I just need to wait for the, you know, pre-Shanghai to do its thing, and then maybe we'll do a crude oil trade. Yeah, it's a shame. Copper is my favorite product, but there's nothing there tonight. At least until the volume actually comes up. But this pre-Tokyo range was rather pathetic as well. Where's the ruler? Let's measure that. Yeah, that's not even like... Yeah, that's terrible. Whoop. Nope. Don't want that. There we go. Yeah, so we need to look for other opportunities. Maybe metals are not going to be it tonight. Suppose you could try some range trades. Look at bookmap. All right, here's the pre-Shanghai nonsense. So you see the price going a little bit crazy. We had the same thing on Tuesday, right? If you were on my Twitter, you would have seen that the copper long, I held it for exactly 90 minutes, I think, post-stream or something like that. And it got like 3.2k, I think, across everything. Yeah, gold looks like it's gonna be a range situation. Because right now, what's happened is that Shanghai, pre-Shanghai shakeout, went higher, but now they're like kicking off some big orders here. As soon as they swipe the liquidity, it's quite funny. So right now it's sit and wait. So maybe if we get up to 41.50, maybe that'll be a fade. What's up, Rima? Rima's sitting behind me and like breathing. Oh, Trading Nichols is here, and Dawn is here as well. Dawn says, I got here late. Do you always draw the rectangle to watch your trade? So most of the time I will have boxes and stuff that are drawn for me. But for the pre-Tokyo range, I just want to have that range in front of my eyes so that I know what the hell I'm doing. I'm a very visual person, right? So I think this is kind of one of the reasons why maybe I'm a musician. And Dawn, oh my god, Dawn can sing amazingly. Like, that video of you singing Lean on Me, Bill Withers, you have a beautiful voice. And this is coming from a former pro musician, so well done. I was impressed. I was like, I actually kept replaying it. I was like, this is amazing. Oh my god, so talented, Dawn. Amazing. Okay, crude oil is trying to reject. We have a positive correlation happening. So it's trying to reject this 72 level. Just gonna have a look at bookmap. Because they were kind of negatively correlated yesterday, so not tonight, apparently. Copper's still pretty dead. But yeah, so I like to have a visual reference of whatever I'm doing. So if it's a pre-Tokyo range, I want to, you know, just draw a box and then see whether we're actually breaking out, whether we're returning into it. And it just gives me an idea of whether the trade is doing what it's supposed to be doing or not. And, you know, it really helps me to kind of orient myself. And I don't freak out over losses. Like, I never really think of, oh my god, I lost, now the trolls are gonna come after me. It's just like a single trade in the thousands and thousands of trades I've done. I just look at it from a bigger picture, right? So I look at it as, okay, probabilities. So this one, probably a range until proven otherwise. We try to break out, there was participation, but now they're just returning into the range, and the box helps me figure that out, right? Some other people might not need boxes. I need them, so yeah. I just wonder whether this crude oil attempt at going lower is maybe just a bit of precursor to Shanghai, and that the correlation between the two is what's bringing the madness here. Because if gold is going to go short, and if gold, oh, so the gamma flip just changed to 41.40. If gold is going to go short, then crude oil in a negative correlation should be long. So this is why I'm like not rushing into anything. Let's see how this next 5-minute bar closes. If they close below the pre-Tokyo range, I might try another short. So again, I'm not flipping and flopping on directions. We're still trying shorts to try and fade the previous day's move. But the bot can only do, I think it's allowed to do 2 attempts. Let me just double check that. I need the output. There we go. Because some of them I know that I allowed 2 trades. No, I think that one's only allowed 1. So yeah, it's going to be a manual trade. Trading nickels. Whoa! Since when is my personal account big enough to trade copper? Well, there you go. Copper's been beautiful, man. I've been so in love with that product. It's literally the reason for most of the big P&Ls. Like, yeah, sure, there's some gold and crude oil in there, but copper is like a massive, massive reason behind it. Cumulative volume delta on GC is shifted by a bookmap. Yeah, I'm just worried that they're gonna keep chopping around, because what they're doing, what I'm seeing that they're doing, so look at this. They go lower and they kick off a bunch of orders. Then they went higher and then they kicked off more orders. So to me, that's a range bound market for now. This is why I would like to see one 5-minute time frame that actually like does something, you know, leaves the pre-Tokyo range or something with conviction, and preferably not a crazy exhaustion bar volume candle either, like this one, because this one was too big. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they've probably gone as far as they will go. And this could be a gamma flip reversal. It could be, but I don't know. It's just looking very rangy for now. Crude oil, if we can close above 72, maybe I want a long. I hate being long crude oil though. Because in all of my years of trading crude oil, I know that it's a short bias product. Like the amount of times that I've made money on the longs, there's been a few, but the shorts have been like most of the time. So yeah. Our market's flat, waiting for the jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. And I think it's July price action more than waiting for any particular release. So, for example, we have, you know, pretty good price action up until usually end of June. And then as soon as you enter July, you tend to see like a bit of dry up in liquidity, and you see a lot more ranges developing. So it's like annoying. And I don't like scalping, but if the range is all you have, you don't really have a lot of choice, right? You have to default to just grabbing a few ticks here and there. So yeah, this is gold is looking very rangy, but crude oil is trying. Copper is showing signs of life, but again, it's not exactly screaming upside. We have a look at crude oil. Man, the crude oil, like, delta is rising slowly. You know what? I'm gonna start entering some trades slowly. So let's start with one of the Tradeifys. So we're gonna be using a pretty wide stop, 5 micro crudes, because the volatility is reasonably high, but I also don't want to be shaken out. And then let's wait a little while, and then maybe we start, as it starts to prove that it's going to go above 72, because this is the front run, and I'm not smashing all 7 accounts all at the same time. So I'm going to stagger them. All right, let's try another one. I'm just watching bookmap on the other side. Actually, I can put it side by side here. Methy. Actually, let's move copper because I'm not really interested in copper at the moment. Again, sorry about the psychopathic white charts, but they're just easy on my eyes. Let's see if we can find a crude oil trade. That's 2 accounts. They need to break through this little heat map here. This sticky out area. Can you see all of that? Yeah, okay. Now, crude oil is technically slower at this time of the night. Not always, but we did have some headline risk, obviously, with the things heating up in the Middle East again. So maybe they decide to go a bit higher. Yeah, gold is flat as a pancake. Flatter than Kate Moss's chest. Oh, the old ones. Hold on, do we have, is the music playing or what's going on? It's not playing, is it? Why? It's away. There we go. Heat map, heat map. So yeah, they need to smash into this one where there's like 26 contracts, and then maybe we clear the path from this gamma wall at 72, because that's what it is the dealers just sitting there going, you cannot go through. They're like, what's the thing in Robin Hood, the dude that's like minding the bridge? So that's them. But once they clear that, if they clear it, then we can add more. Come on. Peter says MGC trying to break above 41.40 now. No. So 41.40 is a gamma flip now. To me, it just looks very flat. It's not really. I mean, look at it from a 5-minute chart, yes, but let's look at it from a 30-minute chart. Like nothing's happening, right? So I don't think that MGC is going to do much. Right, let's go into another 5. Still front running. I'm just gonna let Rimmer Bear out because the whole office is getting really hot. Poor dude. Right, go on. Why don't you go? It's too hot in there. Maddie, you wanna go? No? No. Maddie wants to stay. Maddie loves heat. He's a black and tan boy, but oh my god, he loves heat. Today we had a guest, doggo guest. So our neighbors are going on vacation end of August, and they have 3 dogs, and only 2 dogs could go into like the kennels or whatever. They didn't have the space for the 3rd one, so the Labrador came over to get to meet our guys, and yeah, it's gonna take a while because we have some barkers. 3 of them were amazing with him. The little ones, the Pomeranian mom, she was very barky. She was like, "Who are you? What are you doing in my garden?" Burp, burp, burp. So yeah, we're gonna have to hang with everybody to get them used to each other. And Maddie was terrible. He just kept barking at the poor Labrador. It's like... Alright, so that's all the Tradefies. Now we're gonna go in with Apexes. I'm working on a position sinker, so we're gonna create that with Blahtech. Because I'm not liking any trade copiers that are on the market at the moment. Let's have a look. Coach Hope, yes, hello. Fried Tuck, that's it. Thanks, Roy. Tony says, grand evening, Dee. Yeah, grand evening to you too, sir. Do I have a fixed schedule when I go live? So, because of the heat wave, I decided to do Tokyo sessions. Normally, I'm streaming Tuesdays and Thursdays at 7 AM Eastern, but it's been like hitting ridiculous temperatures. And I just can't, like, I just, you know, cannot handle it. Because I would be melting. Literally, I would just be like, melting. Right, so we're over 72. Gold's still not really doing much. Copper is on the move, but volume is still sub any rolling average. So maybe copper will be a fade for me. I don't know, we'll see. But for now, let's focus on this crude. Metal markets, but we also trade energies. Why not? So the crude trade is purely an intercession chase, right? So whenever you get a very big move in the previous day, typically Tokyo will fade that, and then you get at least like 50% retracement through that move. And it's generally just a repricing and, you know, trying to rebalance things when everything goes way too far from one side. And you have to have like an exaggerated move for that to happen. I think it was pretty bloody exaggerated yesterday, right? So how much movement did we have yesterday? Yeah, so it went to like, you know, 327 ticks. It's enough. So we'll see whether we can fade this back the other way. Gold still flat. Just keeps like bouncing in a 175 tick range, which is very tight for gold these days. So yeah, let's see what we can do with these positions. Dee put it on some extra hours. Not really. Putting still the same hours, but yeah. Trade Nickel says, I got excited looking at silver on the 2 minute. Then I checked the 1 hour and got the perspective of meh. That is exactly why you want to look at 30 minutes, 60 minutes. It really gives you an idea of what the prices are doing. You know, so many times when I was still at TopStep TV, you would get people looking at NQ on like 1 minute time frame, right? And they'll be like, it's moving! And I look at it and I'm like, it's not moving. It's like, get off the 30-second chart and zoom out. Then you'll get a bit better context, right? Right, so we are above 72. A lot of things can happen in 8 minutes though. So this is all just front running a fade of the New York NYMEX move in crude. And gold tagging 41.40 and still doing absolutely fuck all. That's good. You know, sometimes sticking to one product, it's all very well, but you know, you get to a point where your main product is in a range, and what do? You sit there watching paint dry, or you try to move on to something else that is actually showing signs of life? Because to me, gold is just very flat. It looks like a repeat of what happened last night. The only difference is that the bots didn't trade early. I had the later bot that did trade. But the early bots were like completely silent. They were just like, we're not doing anything. There's not enough for them. And today kind of looks a repeat of that. I mean, maybe they decide to move it, but for now they're not. So yeah, if anything, copper looks more promising for a long. If we can only get like a little bit above that bloody moving average of the volume here, then I'll be happier doing a directional move. But until that happens, it's a little bit meh. And crude oil, this is normal for crude oil, right? Because it's an out of hours thing. But usually when there's an outlier move, the previous day, Tokyo will fade that. They love doing it. So we'll see how far this gets to. Yeah, Hoop saying pretty contracted range in metals tonight. Yep. Can I add? Hoop, I'm gonna. Should I make you into a moderator? Do you want that responsibility? Don't have to. Hey D, where is your trading clock? How far of time delay? We're just curious. So I put it to be ultra low time frame. Ultra low. What was it called? Stream settings. Stream latency. So it should be only like 3 to 5 seconds. Yeah. I mean, can we do a clock? Let me see. How do I do a clock? I used to have a clock. I don't really have it anymore. It's on another screen. But look, okay. So you see this clock, yeah? That's the countdown of the candle that's gonna finish the 30-minute bar. So it's 4 minute 36. So you can extrapolate how much of a delay there is. So tell me, you tell me. It shouldn't be as much as it was in TopStep, because I think TopStep runs on like 15-second delay. But, you know, I've always run these streams with ultra low latency, which should be no more than 3 seconds. But yeah. Trading Nickel says, I wouldn't mind modding, but I catch a lot more of your content not live than live. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, let me know what's the time delay. It shouldn't be too Too bad. Crude has been hitting the snooze button, but it really feels like it wants to move. Yeah. Why not the trade range? Because in a product that is currently moving 770 ticks, which is gold, we are at the moment barely moving a seventh of that range. Not even that. It's literally like 175 ticks, and we have not expanded that range. So if you want to nitpick and trade super tight ranges in a high volatility market, that's your prerogative. I like to not lose my eyes more than I need to. So, you know, bloodshot eyes from me trying to scalp tight ranges in a high volatility market, that's a game that is maybe for somebody who's like 20 something, 30 something. I prefer to run trades that have more juice in them and that are easy. Okay, I'm a pretty lazy trader. I've always said that. I only scalp if the range is big enough for me to get involved, right? And that usually means I would need at the very least on gold to have 300 to 400 ticks of range. So at least half of whatever the average daily is showing me. Anything tighter than that, and you're basically just looking at very large candles on a 30-minute bar or 5-minute bar that are just wagging around in that 175 tick range. That represents a logistical issue and a problem. So think about it this way. In a market that has 175 ticks all in, are the 30-minute bars going to chew up the entire 175 ticks? No. They will be evenly distributed by like 30 ticks, maybe 50 ticks, 30 ticks, until it fills that range. And then it rotates. That's acceptable. What we have on gold is 175 ticks across 3 30-minute candles. That is asking to get chopped up. So I don't like doing that. Okay. When I was a novice trader, I got caught up in that, but then I realized there's ranges and there's ranges, right? So a range that is distributed solely across 3 30-minute bars, very tough to trade. A range that has an ebb and a flow, but still the same average, right? Still 175 ticks, but it's not like smushed all into the same 3 candles. That's very tradable. So pick your poison, you know? Alright, so you're saying 25 seconds. Interesting. I mean, why? Why would it be? Like, I literally put it on low latency, and yet they're hitting me. They are hitting me with... Yeah, they're hitting me with a big latency. That sucks. Who do I need to sleep with? From YouTube. No one, because YouTube algorithm hates me. Alright, so Shanghai Exchange open. Are they gonna do something? Copper might be doing something. Just you wait, like copper's gonna like smash back down into the range. It left some single prints though. I don't know. I don't like going long on copper when the day has already been so long previously, because again, Asia likes to fade that. Yeah, I think copper, I would like to get it to 632 and then maybe a short, but that's not going to be now. It's going to be much later. Yeah, so Hoop says it's good to have a secondary market that keeps you at a job. Does gold usually move on Shanghai, Hong Kong market opens not right now. Yeah, it should. So if it doesn't, it means that we are deep in summer trading, which has begun, at least for Asia. So we'll see. And you know, July can get really difficult. We'll see. If it's still stuck in the same sort of 175 ticks and it doesn't move anywhere in the next 30 minutes, that's your answer, right? If that's the case, you're going to have to wait until probably COMEX for it to do something. Maybe Shanghai close might give you some action, but no. Right, let's see what's going on with crude. Still nothing. Not moving. What is the first thing that I look at when trading copper? Time. Time hoop. That's the first thing I look at. Is the time of day correct for what I'm trying to achieve? And then after that, I will look at open sentiment. Are we opening above, inside, or below value? Third thing I look at would be any strong levels from the gamma levels readout. But time, yeah, copper is a very time dependent product. I think most commodities are. Although gold is a bit unusual that way, because I think gold can definitely have days when it's all over the place, and then that lack of pattern continues for like quite a few weeks. But again, you can still have like periods of like 90 minutes when the probabilities are higher of like reversals in gold. That's especially true around sort of the London close time. But copper, it has this characteristic, like for example, right now, we could say that we moved into some kind of an auction upside from the 625 put level, and it's a moderate put level. The only thing that's worrying me is that there's usually some kind of a correlation between copper and gold, and if gold starts screaming to the downside, that's going to drag copper downwards as well, and then we have single prints that will be faded, and therefore no breakout, also a range. And the fact that we don't have much volume on copper at the moment is making me stay out of the breakout trade. Crude oil volume doesn't worry me much because it is, like I said, an out of hours exchange anyway. And usually it's more a matter of just like a slow drift higher against the NYMEX move, rather than some sort of like active buying of crude oil. It's just like, well, there's nobody here to sell it, so let's kind of go back the other way. So that's kind of how I look at crude oil in Asia whenever it does these counter moves, fading moves. But copper, it's always time. Time first, everything after. And it's like clockwork. NYMEX, once it extends the initial balance, like 80% of the time you're gonna get a fade of that initial balance extension on copper. That's a lot in trading. Something happening 80% of the time. So you know, on copper I will go, you know, hard on some of those. Sometimes if I get stuck in a single direction day, which can happen with copper as well, that hurts. It does hurt, but luckily that doesn't happen too often, so just play the probabilities, you know. Do I trade the London Open? No, but I do trade the Shanghai Close. London Open for metals is not really much of an event. If you're going to trade anything for London Open, you're better off trading crude because it moves better. But gold, it does one thing for London. It goes and swipes the Asia high or low, whichever one is closer. And then it dies a death for like 2 hours. And then it starts coming back only when we get closer to COMEX. So again, time is very important. Why don't I sleep? It's late. Well, I slept yesterday. I slept yesterday. I've been trying to trade when it's cooler at night because we have a heat wave. And I used to be a night owl, and I think I'm getting back to that the better I feel, because I'm on nice new meds that have made me feel pretty normal. And my brain tends to work better at night. So I am somebody who used to be a musician for 20 years. So I wouldn't even start, you know, the show until midnight, 1 a.m. And then we would play very loud music until about 5 a.m. in the morning. And then I would go home and sleep. So that's kind of my natural state of being. Now, obviously with the chronic illness that I went through, that changed, and I was just constantly sleeping, and it was really annoying because I couldn't do much whilst it was going on. And I've been sick for like, well, about 4 or 5 years now. But yeah, luckily I was able to get some off-label medication that I was responsive to. So now I'm back to being a night owl. And I actually started struggling with the stream that I do at 12 noon my time, 7 a.m. Eastern, but noon UK, because that's still too early for me. I'm still like, I'm not awake yet. Let me get like 3 coffees in me, then maybe we'll do something. But yeah, this time of the night, it just feels very natural to me. So, yeah. Haven't seen you trade silver. No, because silver is not, like, liquidity-wise, again, it's gotten itself into a bit of a problematic situation. But also, most of the prop firms that I'm with now do not have micro silver. I am not that crazy to trade full silver on 100, 150k funded accounts. That's like suicide. You're going to last exactly, even on like the biggest account that TradingView gives you, a full silver is going to maybe give you 2 trades the way I trade. So that's very painful. Don't do it. I mean, seriously. If you want to blow up accounts, that's what you do. You trade full silver. I'm always trying to walk a line where I'm just with enough size. Like you see here, I'm not even trading full oil, right? Normally I would if I can squeeze in a 35 tick stop. I will do 1 mini. But I can't do that because here we already had a pretty big spike to the downside. And to me, this just requires a 75 tick stop. So naturally, I'm not going to risk $750 per account times 7. It's a lot of cash to lose, right? So I'm cutting that down in half. So therefore, I'm using 5 micros of crude, using a larger stop, and allowing the trade to breathe and to do what it needs to do. Because I'm trying to get a bigger fade of the previous day. But I'm not going to trade silver. Like maybe, you know, if TopStep ever brings back another platform, maybe I go back to TopStep. But for now, I don't think there is another firm that offers micro silver. So that's a problem. If I find one, I'll let you know. But yeah. How do you use Bookmap? Wizard Trade says, looking good, my dear. Thank you, Draghi. Why did I take a stop loss? Because we tried to do a breakout of the pre-Tokyo range in gold and it didn't work. Shock horror, some trades don't work out. But yeah, Bookmap. Let's bring our Bookmap so we can talk about it. No, that's OBS. But it does have Bookmap on it. Where's my Bookmap? Oh, there it is, to the left. So, a couple of things on Bookmap. you need to look at it sequentially, right? So some people look at like a single bubble and they're like, oh, the big bubble, let's go in. You need to look at all order flow events in a sequence, right? So right now on crude oil, it's all a little bit flat. Now, here's gold. They've just popped off a whole bunch of orders. Now, if this is truly a range, this should be a shakeout and then a reversal. What's the time? Yeah, so Shanghai is open now. If they continue, that would be nice. And that would be pretty good for crude oil as well, because they're negatively correlated these days. But yeah, so how do you use Bookmap? Sequence of events. So I want to see something happening in conjunction with the cumulative volume delta, which is this thing here, and sequence of whatever the price is doing. And I want whatever this sequence is doing to also have an effect on price. If it's not having an effect on price, that's some sort of absorption. So there's quite a few concepts. This stream is probably not long enough to explain everything that could happen in Bookmap, but the gist of it is that you need to look at Bookmap events sequentially, right? And then to try and match them with the reactivity of the price or not. So if something is not reacting, but you get these big bubbles and bigger bubbles, that's absorption. And you need to look at who's going to win. Again, not what's happening at the moment, but what happens after the fact. Same thing if you see a big high velocity sweep, like we had that on gold, right? It's not the fact that this sweep happened downwards, it's what will happen now. What's happening next? Is delta continuing to get shaved off? That's a no. Is delta maybe rising back the other side? That would be more indicative of a range. Also no. Right now they've just smashed a whole bunch of orders and they're sitting flat. Nobody's initiating. That's not a proper breakout. Proper breakout is when you see them pop off a bunch of orders like they did here, and then you see a cascade of new initiating shorts stepping in that are also bringing down the delta with it, so shaving off more of the delta, which means that the active sellers have now also stepped to the party and they're pushing the price further down. When that doesn't happen and you just get like a random sweep and then they just stop, that's usually more a hallmark of a range day. So I'm still thinking gold for now, the way it looks. There's no participation here. Again, that could change. We could get somebody, saying something. We still have a lot of headline risk. So if somebody says something, we could see craziness, but right now it's all just non-committal price action. It's like, to me, it smells of July price action more than anything. I think summer. What do you reckon, Hoop? It's is this summer trading? RBOB is worse than silver. I like RBOB. I don't know. Yeah. Apex has SIL, micro silver. Yeah, but I can't trade that on TraderVate. Because all of my accounts are TraderVate because I want to have Eurex. And I don't think they allow me to trade silver. I can try. I'll try executing. You can see it. It is there. But let's go to one of the apexes. And what's the range doing? 300. Okay. Oh, micro silver. Interesting. Yeah, see, when I signed up with them like about a month ago, You couldn't do micro silver? I'm not going to trade it now because I haven't looked at it in like forever. But yeah, okay. Well, thanks, Vital. That's good to know. Apex has micro silver again, even on TraderView. See? See? That's why chat is good. Let's go back to MGC. Interesting. Copper and gold have gone completely the wrong way now. But copper also looks very, very slow to me. So, your opinion on holding silver leverage ETF till it goes back up to 120? I mean, yeah, I've got some gold, some silver bars. To me, that's a long-term play, though. It's like we're talking maybe when I retire in like 20, 30 years or so. But yeah, I mean, why not? I would rather hold physical silver, but that's me. But you know, if you're not in a rush, just leave it there. Because, you know, unless we find an asteroid to mine with silver, it's always going to be a huge demand for silver. You know, everything that we're doing with like AI and stuff, well, you know, you have a lot of demand for silver, and yet the mining efforts that we have right now, they're actually falling short of what the world needs. So like I said, unless we find silver on an asteroid, you know, Elon to the rescue, we're still going to have that problem. You know, it's not just going to go away. Realize that all those walks away from the market, that the market is moving choppy. Short targets only. Yep. Coach Hope, hoping earnings season next week gets some of the traders back in here. We shall see. The good news says that you're not trading with TopStep no more. Listen, if TopStep had multiple platforms and they had affiliates, yeah, I would, you know, I would gladly go back. But I found that my workflow is massive, right? So I have multiple bots on multiple products. I just can't do TradingView white label where you're only stuck on one screen and I can't undock the charts to go on multiple screens. That was the first problem that I had. Second of all, I tried translating some of my bots into their API. They pushed me into live. The bots couldn't run on live because the API was only for an XFA. So it's like, so I just lost like 6 months of my life. So, you know, there are things that I'm just not resonating with. Maybe if you only trade like one product, you know, maybe two, and you're happy to just use one screen for everything, that could work. But, you know, for me, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm set in my ways. Okay? I am set in my ways. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And then, you know, I made an effort to translate everything, and then they pushed me into live after 40 days, only to find out that I can't use my bots in live. So I'm like, well, great. So, sadly, for now, I'm not with TopStep, so yeah. I was their partner for 3 years, you know. Nothing against TopStep, I still think they're a great company. I just can't do the single platform thing, man. I just can't. And you know, I have a software development company. All of the indicators you see on here, they're mine. Every single piece of it. You know, market profile, Blahtech MP, gamma levels, Blahtech GL, these daily ranges, Blahtech DR, backtest on the charts, that you can go back to like whatever day you want, as long as you've got history, and see what the profile actually looked like on that day. Oh look, a failed auction on crude oil into the London close. Funny that. So, you know, I wanted to do stuff, I wanted to get back to my fintech stuff as well, and I've got so many good ideas of what the whole community needs right now. And if I had stayed with Top Step, that I just couldn't talk about it, right? I would have had to stick with Top Step X. And it was, I'm still friends with everyone. You see Coach Hoop is in here. You know, we're all friends. Coach Robert, he's still chirping on Twitter. You know, still in touch with Hogue. Like, everybody's, you know, no, there's no hard feelings. It's just, you know, business decisions and stuff. So, yeah, at the moment, it's just not a part of my, where I want to be. Let's put it that way. But yeah, still a great company. So, probably the least drama over payouts out of all of the prop firms. Even though they've all gotten better, you know, they've learned. But it was the sim farmers that did that to us. We were all happy-go-lucky doing, you know, fat balances in the sim funded accounts and ending up in nice live accounts with, like, you know, chunky balances. And then the sim farmers ruined the game for all of us. So, you know, prop firms have to exist. They have to maintain their solvency as well. And the way things were back in 2024, 23, that just became, I think, unsustainable in the industry. So changes came. And they were not favorable for traders. No, I will agree. But it is what it is. So now we have tiny live accounts across the board. Everybody's doing them, right? Top Step, Traderify, Apex. You know, everybody's bringing out these like 3K accounts. And that's like, you know, a good one. What I like about Traderify is that they allow you to have multiple live accounts. So that's, you know, at least some sort of redeeming quality. So you can have up to 5 and 3K in each one. It's kind of like starting a new challenge on 100K. I'm cool with that. So if I ever end up in a live account, it is what it is, right? So many familiar faces in chat. I know. Yeah. Wizard Trade says, what music instruments did you play, Dee? So for my rock and pop career, I was mainly a saxophonist and an electric guitarist. So that was like the two main instruments. But I actually started playing piano when I was 4. Then I started playing the flute when I was 9. And I actually ended up having a degree in flute for some weird reason. It was just the thing that you did, right? But yeah, it was mainly alto sax and electric guitar. I'm pretty sure you can find videos of me still on YouTube from back in the day. So gold back over 41.25. That's a range if I've ever seen one. Boring Tokyo session, guys. Very boring. Watching paint dry. I mean, crude oil is still crawling very slowly. But yeah, what did I say? No participation. More likely to be. What? Pulling back in range. So you could see that the delta after that big smash, it was just flat. It was like not doing anything. It was just like, it's just chilling. It looked like, who remembers, and I'm gonna really show my age here, La Linea? Do you remember that? It was like a Italian animation, and I used to be obsessed with it when I was a kid. So it's basically just a line, and then a dude like with a, you can only see a hand, and he would draw like a little man, and then that man, the La Linea, the man made out of a line, would be a very angry person, and he would just like be chirping and doing stuff, and it was such a like simple little thing. So it reminds me of La Linea. That does that make sense? Probably not. Like if you're younger than, I don't know, if you were born in the 90s, then you definitely won't know what it is. Who are sim farmers? They are people who decided to buy maximum amount of accounts, go 15 lots on each account. Some of them blew up, others hit, and then they would do the same thing in the funded accounts, getting ridiculously large sums of money, and firms having to shell out to the tune of like $500,000, $1 million per person. So this is why we now have hedging rules. This is now we have pitiful small live accounts. This is now we have restrictions on the number of contracts we can trade, so you can thank those doofuses who ruined the game for the rest of us. But yeah, it is what it is. The industry has to go forward, right? What name under YouTube? So I kind of went by DD then I went by my real name Deeyana, and then I went back to DD. So it's somewhere in there. But at the end of the stream, I usually play one of my tracks, Dirty Habit. And it's a rock track where I'm singing, I'm playing the guitar, I did the drum programming. I just had a friend of mine who's a bass player, because I'm alright on bass, but I'm not like a proper bass player. I'm basically a guitarist who plays bass. It's not the same. So yeah, I had my friend Vincent, who's actually a guy from Go West, if you remember. But yeah, we did a number of gigs together. Actually, Rod Stewart was one of them. So yeah, I had Vinny play the bass on Dirty Habit. So that's coming at the end of the stream. I always play it. I actually wanted to have that song as my intro on Top Step for the metal markets. Because metal, right? Metal markets. And then we had new producers. Everything changed. And I said, okay, so I've got this song, right? And I was told, because of the name Dirty Habit, and it's about being addicted to like a dude that looks like really good. And then I thought, well, that would actually apply to NQ as well, because so many people are addicted to it. So it's like almost like a dirty habit, right? And I thought it was such a great analogy. Well, I got the legal coming back saying how we don't want to associate dirty habit with trading. So I was like, yeah, okay. But I'm going to associate it on my channel. So yeah, it is a dirty habit. Nobody can tell me it isn't. Yeah. I like end of day user DQ9TC4FO9R. Very catchy name, by the way. Yeah, so I like the end of day personally. Now the end of day accounts in Apex do come with max payout of 6. Which again, if you're not consistently profitable, you're not getting loads of payouts, probably something not to think about at all. But I really love the end of day because I don't have to worry about the intraday trading stuff. And it's all just like, you know, very, very relaxed. And I like the 100Ks these days. I find them pretty achievable. And I think that the rules that they have in place right now are actually very, very sensible. So yeah, end of day for me. If it's an option at a prop firm, end of day every day. Copper on the move. Yeah, I mean, you know. I want to fade copper. So, if I can ever grab it, I do have an average session range exhaustion point on copper, which is this yellow line. So time of day plus the exhaustion of the thingy. So if we get 2 Johnny Buys Land found me on YouTube. Yeah, DD, that's right. Yeah, so if we get to 4:30 and we kind of top out, and we are somewhere around this yellow line. It's all about the lines, right? 6:32:30 thereabouts. It's not an exact science, right? So as long as it's like sort of bouncing around there, I might want to short that. Now, whether I'm going to short it at 4:30 or 6 a.m. for the final hour of Shanghai, that will be a matter of context, because sometimes they kind of just hang there and they do nothing until the final hour of Shanghai. I call it the power hour of Shanghai fade. But it's exactly like, who you will know that it's exactly the same idea like the settlement fade in crude oil. It's exactly the same mechanics behind the scenes. Enforce hedging into the end of the exchange hours. So that's what it is. So that's my plan for copper. I want to actually go against the move. So I want to see a liquidity sweep above yesterday's high and then fade it into Shanghai close and London handoff, right? So that could be a good one. But yeah, what a quiet session on gold, man. This is definitely July. It's not easy. You know, July price action is very annoying. You're a lefty on electric guitar. Yeah, I'm a lefty for everything, mate. I'm a left-handed person, southpaw through and through. I basically have my right hand just so that I aesthetically have it. It's pretty useless. Well, I mean, fretting on the guitar is not that useless, is it? But, you know, you try and get me to write something with my right hand, and I like just, it's not happening. If I try and yeah, like, look, all left-handed people have to be somewhat ambidextrous because we live in the right-handed world, right? But if I try to, for example, brush my teeth with my right hand, it's going to look as if I've never done it in my life, right? So some things I can do with my right hand, but most things I'm lefty through and through. Like, I was so stubborn as a baby as well. So my mom told me she knew that I was going to be a lefty because she would put the fork in my right hand and I would put it back in my left. And she tried. She was like, I knew it was going to be, because I was born in 1980, right? And back then it was all, oh yeah, you're the devil's spawn if you're a left-handed person. So I still had to go through school where they were making me try and like write with my right hand, and that didn't work out at all. So my dad had to go in. But my mom really tried to get me to use my right hand. I was having none of it. Like, tiny baby, she put something in my, in my right hand, I immediately switched. Immediately. And then she just let me. She was like, okay, you're going to be a lefty. Cool. And that translated into guitar. I actually technically started playing guitar when I was 12, but it was a normie guitar. And I was like, I learned all the chords and everything, but it was so difficult. And then when I was older, I finally got a hold of a left-handed guitar, and it all just fell into pieces. Now, it was my fourth instrument at the time. It's not like it was like, me just starting. And once you know how to play like 2 or 3 instruments, then adding another one, it's just a matter of mapping things onto a slightly different mechanics and finger positions. It's not like you have to develop the speed again. Like, the speed is there from your previous instruments. And I kind of think the markets are similar as well. I think this is why a lot of musicians go into trading. Hogue was a musician. I don't know whether you guys knew that. Jack from Top Step, he's a musician. Coach Paul, actually, he's an amateur guitarist as well. Loads and loads of musicians who became traders. Because I think it's the same part of the brain. It's repetition, it's discipline, it's staying cool under pressure, having to push through no matter what is going on. Yeah, it's a useful skill. Nexus Trader says, hey, 1978 here. Similar experience, but I'm mixed dominant that favors left on most things. That's like my mom. Because she's technically a lefty, but she writes with her right hand. She brushes her teeth with it. She can use cutlery with both hands, actually. So yeah, ambidextrous people are even more unusual than, lefties. Because it must be like your brain being kind of split to do equal things. It's fascinating. And it's only humans that have like a vast majority of right-handed people. In animals, it's like 50-50. And did you know that left-handed people lose fingers and limbs more often than right-handed people? And I think it's because of the right-handed tools that are made for normies, and then we try and use them. Like, for example, if I try to cut my dog's claws, I can't use the clippers for the life of me. I just can't. So I have to use like those stupid electric files, because there's no way for me to actually hold the clippers without butchering the dog's paw, right? Trading Nickel says, I've always wondered if left-handed driving in London, if somehow I'd get more kids to be lefty, or is 1/7 the normal? Even here, yeah, about 10th of the population, I think. Maybe a little bit more now, because back in the day they used to like either force people to be right-handed, or sometimes they would, like back in the day, they would actually kill the lefties because it was a sign of the devil being a left-handed person. But strangely in London, because the pedals are still, like driving-wise, the pedals are still in the same place. So the gas is still on the right-hand side. It's not like suddenly the left, you know, the feet are still the same. And you're still kind of steering with like the same kind of thing, but I suppose the stick is on the other side. I don't know. I these days drive an automatic, even though I used to drive a manual, as we like to call it here. But yeah, I don't know whether it would translate into more lefties purely on the basis of driving on the opposite side. Probably not. Probably not. It's more, I think, related to speech. But I could be wrong. What do I know? Yeah. What's your thought on gold in relation to the DXY, the dollar index dropping? I mean, they are negatively correlated on some days. The correlation is not 100%. It's like 50-50, right? Some days they will be very correlated. Other days, dollar is doing stuff and gold is doing absolutely nothing. But yeah, at times of headline risk and stuff, there's always going to be correlations across the board. You know, you're going to have, I mean, at the moment we have equities and gold correlating positively again. That's weird for starters. And then we have a lot of the days when crude oil and gold are completely negatively correlated. That doesn't seem to be the case tonight. So that's, again, breaking down a bit. But yesterday, look at it. Gold up, crude oil down. Let's go back. Yeah. Complete negative correlation. And that's headline risk. Nothing else. Well, we're slowly crawling out of this hole. Christ. Wizard Trade says you're really good on sax. Just watch the clip on YouTube. Yeah, you probably found the Creamfields. Eric Pride's piano, or whatever, however you pronounce it. Yeah, that was us doing Head Candy VIP tent back in 2012, I think I want to say. It was a long time ago. I was young. I wasn't even that young. I was 32 back then. Good idea. Sag says left-handers are far more intelligent. I'm not sure about that. I think we're more unusual, for sure. More intelligent. Yeah, there's stupid people everywhere. Silver International says, you're a great trader. You have a lot of key info you give out for free. I love that about you. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you for being here. I know I've seen your name many times. And I really appreciate everybody spending time with me. It's always nice to get like a crowd of people, you know. We're like a crew. And we're talking about concepts that we all talked about many times before, and just, you know, chatting about life while we wait for trades to work out. James Hansen says, just downloaded 27 days worth of M&Q tick data, 80 million ticks, my poor PC. Yeah. Can you download like 1 minute data? Like, do you really need the granular tick data? Because, you know, I find that with some of my stuff, the way I trade, I actually do all right with just like a 5-minute bar, maybe 1 minute, but then I consolidate it into a 5-minute time frame. You don't always need, you know, overkill of just tick data. So maybe try 1 minute. It could be easier on your poor PC. Because one time I did try and input tick data into Cursor AI, and it locked up the entire machine. I actually had to kill everything, uninstall Cursor, and then I had to get rid of the CSV completely, but then it also remembered it in one of the memory files. So that was a pain because it kept trying to latch onto it. So I had to delete the memory file. It was a riot. Yeah, it was a great day. Trading Nickel says, after Tom Step canceled basically everything that wasn't the primary show, that cut me off from everything I liked. Coach Hoop, I see you probably had to go, but you were part of those faves. Yeah. I know, it sucks that they cut the coaching out, right? So the Discord coaching was quite a great, it was probably one of the best things that they did. It's a shame that it doesn't exist anymore. Don't know. Maybe we should start it. Right, I'm writing it to AWS S3, so I don't, yeah, that's probably a good choice. Yeah. I miss Coach Ray and Coach Vince too. For all I know, they're on the mainstream still, but those evening Discords, I literally attended a year of those classes. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, ASMR with Blake says, in times of trouble, this is a Beatles song, isn't it? Mother Mary came to me and whispered words of wisdom by gold. Whispered words of wisdom and buy gold. Yes. I don't know if I would buy gold tonight. I'll be honest. I kind of feel like this whole sideways movement is just a precursor for gold rolling back down. That's usually what happens with gold. Okay, James says, you're right, I'm working on a project that requires tick data. Yeah, there's no way out then. Yeah. Bjorn says, I got 1 minute data in SQLite database, maybe 10 instruments, a little less than a year. It's like 500 meg. Yeah, exactly. So 1 minute is a lot more palatable, I find. Gets a bit labor intensive to tick data, but if you need it, you need it, you know. You can't really do much. Right, crude oil, still crawling. Still crawling. Yeah, Sedge. I'm kind of on the same sell gold, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe should we run some coaching? I mean, I know I run coaching in Market Stalkers, obviously. It's pre-recorded though, and I know that a lot of people had love for the live Discord classes, so don't know. I mean, if there's a need, yeah, let us know. I don't know. Would you like to have Discord class? I could reach out to some people. No promises, but don't want to step on anybody's toes. But I could reach out, see where they are. Maybe we could do our own thing. I don't know. Come on, crude. Don't be rude. ASMR with Blake said, I'm a swing trader. All right, yeah. We're mostly intraday here, but yeah. I'm kind of swing intraday. Your trade is doing well. Yeah, it's a bit slow though. Needs to get a kick up the bum. I may have to leave this. You know, like copper the other night, I left it like until 4 a.m. I'm obviously not going to spend another hour here. I'm only going to be here for another 15 minutes. But I might just leave this crude oil to crawl and to do whatever. And then cut it with the exception that crude oil can go even longer. So crude oil doesn't quite have the Tokyo lunch, and then we kind of go, that's a metals thing. So this one might be all right to leave as long as it's above 72. Might be safe to leave until the London Open. And then at London Open, again, time of day is a level. London likes to reverse whatever Asia did. So this could be one of those long ones. Damn, copper just went. Right now it's swiping the previous day's high. But I don't like doing breakouts. I'm okay. You know, I'm okay not going in on this. I still want to fade it from the yellow line if we can get there. How did the HG... I trade full HG. I don't do MHG. How did it turn out the other night? It was fine. I posted it on Instagram. 3.2k, I think it was. So you can go back on my Insta and see. And yeah, I held it up until about, I think it was like 4:15 my time. So for another hour. And yeah, it was fine. So maybe this crude oil is going to be the same deal. I mean, it is a similar trade. You know, you get a fade of the previous day's move and then you just hold it and keep going. Don't know. We'll see. James Hansen says that I still have my VIP XFA thanks to Coach Hoop. That's crazy, man. Well done. You're probably getting into the territory of people who have held an XFA for a very long time. Because the VIP, that was last year? That's crazy. That's amazing. I love hearing that. Like longevity, that's what you want to hear. Not these people who are like, oh yeah, I got into account and I got one payout, then I blew up. It's like, no, dude. Just, what are you doing? Love that. Amazing. Amazing. All right, come on. Let's look at Bookmap just to have something to stare at. It's a bit more dynamic because the prices are just crawling. And look at this gold. Oh my god. See, I really don't mind losing when gold is doing this. And at one point, on both sides, it looked like something's gonna happen, right? It's gonna break out. And then it just stopped, flattened out, destroyed the delta, and then it reversed. And then it meandered. Yeah. I just hope this is not like the start of July dry up. And I hope copper still keeps going. Because that would be... I mean, we'll find something, right? We'll find something. And if, you know, if worse comes to worse, we'll trade ranges. It's okay. Yeah, there we go. James, Coach Hoop, he's here. It's amazing. Coach Hoop says, hopefully the grains wake up with WASD report tomorrow. Well, if I'm going to trade grains, I'm going to need your help, Hoop. Because I did all of like 3 soybean trades in my life. In all the 20 years. Crude go high means what? Not always, Vital. Crude loves mean reversions. So... Look, we might carry on down, just not now. Time of day is a level, right? Right now, we overshot yesterday. Crude oil likes to reverse at least 50% of those moves overnight. Trading Nickel says, I'm getting into live cattle, but not grains. Grades. Every time I try to trade LE, live cattle, trade C breaks for 2 to 3 days. Yeah. ASMR says, how many years until you were consistently profitable? They say women become consistent faster because male ego messes us up. So I was very lucky that I had a friend who was a trader for an institution. So I was already a musician, and he's actually the one who talked me into it. And he said, D, I think you have this natural intelligence that you would do very well as a trader. And I'm like, me? But I suck at math. And he's like, no, it's not math. It's actually patterns more than math. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then we started talking, and he showed me the candlestick charts. He talked to me about supply and demand. That was my first ever strategy. He told me about how much stuff to risk, how much to risk for a stop loss, what is a stop loss, what is a take profit. So I had the luxury of getting introduced to a strategy that was like solid. So in my head, it never even occurred to me to trade without a stop. I think these days, because we have so much YouTube and we have so many people who are telling you to full port, and you have, we're not going to mention any names, but we have some unscrupulous individuals on YouTube who are like, yeah, don't be a pussy, just like trade 15 it's like, what are you talking about, man? It's like you're just causing people to blow up, and there's a ulterior motive. Look, I've got a code as well, Grasshoppers. I like my affiliate income too, but there is there's a level of value that I want to provide to people. And if that means that people are not going to blow up as often as a result of me sharing my knowledge, I'm cool with that, I don't know. I don't know how some people sleep at night when they're like, yeah, just go, just go in hard because it's only, $200 for an eval. Yeah, but for some people, $200 is not just one time $200. It's $200, then you blow up. Then it's another $200, and another, and another. And before you know it, $200 of blown up eval after eval turns into 2K, 4K, 10K, 40K of debt. Yeah, I wouldn't be comfortable doing that and saying that to people. So, whatever. But at the same time, I was very fortunate to not have all the YouTube dross pushed on me. So I was trading the right way. We also didn't have prop firms that offered you multiple times to start over and over and over again. So you had to start with your own capital. So I started low and slow, right? Started on a demo. And because of the nature of supply and demand, what it is, it's like institutional order flow on large time frames where you're effectively focusing on swing extremes. If I go on the daily chart and I'll show you what I mean, you are effectively looking at very, very large time frames to see exactly where you are in a chart location. So what you would be doing, or what I was doing, is I was looking for demands and supplies to line up with an uptrend or a downtrend. In this case, it would be a downtrend. Then you would wait for an originating supply. So this is not it. Therefore, the only originating supply would be this one. So you would wait until prices would pull back there. You would enter a small position with a very large stop that encompasses the entire supply and then some. And then you would run a short for a few weeks and you would make an absolute killing, even on like a tiny position size. So that was my first strategy. And because of that, I only really practiced it for about, I think the first sort of 7 to 9 months, I stayed on a demo. Then once I was sort of confident that I sort of knew what I was doing, I started with a $2,000 account. Actually, it was pounds, 2,000 pounds account. And I did really well for the 2 years, almost like no mistakes. I was perfectly fine losing. I was finding my setups every 2 weeks. And I actually grew the 2K up to 70K in 2 years. No, sorry, it was 1 year. And then I did something stupid. Then I decided to get biased. It was my first sort of feeling of losing control and losing the plot. So I blew up the 70K. So I had to start again. Started learning about psychology, why it happened so that it never happens again. And in the end, I managed to go back to the same 70K, but this time it was much quicker because I knew, I had the experience, so I could actually run slightly bigger position sizes. And then from that point on, I made my first 6 figures already the next year. So it was much quicker the second time around, I suppose. So in the span of 2 years, I had a fuck up of the 70K, but then went from 2K to effectively £250,000. And at that point, that was like $500,000 because it was a long time ago. So yeah, for me, I didn't really have a period where I thought, oh my God, when am I going to be profitable? Because I was kind of profitable from the get-go because of my friend who basically told me how to trade. So, you know, I don't know whether it was just me being so naive that I never questioned it and I just completely followed everything that he told me. It's just, this is how you do trading, therefore you don't do it the other way, right? You don't trade without a stop. And this is why I'm saying that these days you're almost like poisoned by so many people who are telling you to blow up accounts because it's a business expense. It's like, you don't have a business. Like if you're, you know, if you're not taking payouts, that's not a business. That's just an expense. It's a hole and it's a hobby that's currently sucking money from you. So you need to change that first before you can call something a business expense. So I totally disagree with that. And you have people who are actively trying to get you to fail, right? Because that suits their affiliate income. And it's like, great. So yeah, for me, profitability was never like a question. It was always there. Did I have drawdowns? Oh, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. I had a whole year of crude oil drying up on me and me going, now what do I do? Oh my God. Then I also had a year where a friend of mine who was also a trader, actually one of my first market stalkers, Deeyana, she passed away. She was 29. She had stomach cancer that we kind of knew there was something wrong with her stomach, but we thought it was just like sensitivity. It turned out it was stomach cancer, so we lost her. And that hit me hard. Like, I couldn't trade without crying. She traded the Aussie dollar and Bund. Every time I would open up a Bund chart, I would like bawl my eyes out. So I'm like, okay. So I had to stop until that went away. And I'm not particularly emotional. I don't really cry unless it's like my animals or people that I really, really care about. And that's not too many people in the world, because I'm a weirdo. But yeah, so for me, profitability was always there. The bigger problem for me was coping with intraday, learning intraday. Now, that took a while. That took about a year of me wanting to be an intraday trader and then completely not knowing what to do. So I was like full of confidence as a swing trader. And then I'm like, I really want to be an intraday trader. I want to make this into a career. I know that I need to get better at intraday. I don't know what I'm doing. So I was like, I'm going to start trading intraday. And for a whole year, I was just terrible. Absolutely terrible. 2012 to 2013, I had no idea what I was doing, how to trade at all. It all like looks impossible. So I was running into a problem where I could see the supply and demands on larger time frames, and I would either enter, but then the move wouldn't happen on the same day. So by the time that the next day came, the move would happen overnight and I wouldn't be in on it. So I'm like, how do I enter? And my stops were too large. So I was only getting like 0.5 R rather than scaling the stops to the volatility. All of the stuff that I learned and now I teach others, I went through that myself. And the reason why I understand all of you when you tell me, hey, I'm struggling with this, is because I've struggled with it at some point. In 20 years, you get to see yourself in a vast variety of conditions and malfunctioning, and then being really confident and doing super well, and then being super miserable because one of your products is not doing what it's supposed to be doing. But you grow out of it. You learn how to cope with it, and you find more robust mechanisms so that you can deal with that particular condition next time. Too much volatility, you learn what to do and where your sweet spot is for next time. If you're constantly using tiny stops in light of, like, let's say the silver and gold when they went crazy, I've already been through 2 black swan events, right? So I knew, even 3 actually, so I knew what to do, right? I knew that I needed to widen my stops, to go way, way down on the position size, and to just leave it to do whatever it was going to do anyway, right? Dealing with Trump tape bombs, you can't do much because they come unannounced. So all you can do is really just follow your own levels. And if a tape bomb happens to take you out, so be it. But a lot of the times, because of the dealer hedging and stuff, you will notice that the gamma levels will actually go with the tape bomb, bizarrely. So a lot of them will work in my favor. But yeah, I got smacked in the face quite a few times on them going against me. So those were some of my challenges. But profitability was always there. You know, even if I kind of go into a drawdown for maybe 3 or 4 months, I always know why I'm in a drawdown these days. You know, so that's the difference, I suppose. I don't freak out. I'm not, you know, thinking, oh my God, I will never be profitable. I can't find a trade for the life of me. Those kind of thoughts don't really enter my brain anymore. Is it comfortable? No. Do I like being in drawdowns? No. Everybody loves making money, right? But it's just a part of the game. And you have to be okay with that. However, if you're still not consistently profitable, you have to find reasons why. So one of the reasons would be going to your journal. I personally like Edgewonk, and yes, I'm gonna splatter my code because it's got these custom metrics that you can put in, and you can even do like the days when you lose the plot. You can actually track that as a metric, and Edgewonk is the only platform that has that. You can also look at the time of day when you perform the best. So again, in Edgewonk, there's this thing called the hour of day. So you go chart lab, time of day or something like that, and then hour of day. Have a look at the time, because somebody says, oh, I'm not profitable. I guarantee you there are times of the day when you actually do things right. But whether it's you losing your mental capital over the amount of time that you keep trading. You know, if you trade for 8 hours, after about 2-3 hours, you're going to be completely exhausted, right? Maybe not physically, but mentally. So that has to be a part of your workflow. And if you look at your P&L by hour of day, you might see that you do pretty well for the first 2 hours of the market, but then everything else starts going red. What's that? That's not you being useless. And yeah, the end result is red, but you have the 2 hours when you are profitable. So why not just focus on the 2 hours? You know, those are kind of things that we do in coaching. Everybody who's been through the VIP, in Top Step, when we still ran that, everybody who's in my market stalkers, you know what sort of metrics I tell you to do. An hour of day is one of the most beautiful metrics that can turn around your results very, very quickly with very little effort. You just need to trade less. That's as simple as that. So yeah. Oh, Wizard says, I just watched Dion Sachs backing up Rod Stewart on stage under my skin. Yeah, that was in his jazz era. Suddenly a rocker turned into a jazz musician. Yeah. He was cool. He was alright. He actually was late one day for a rehearsal, and, you know, he's Rod Stewart. Nobody cares. But he actually apologized. He wasn't so nice for other things, but, like, he wouldn't take a photo with us. But he did apologize for being late, so, you know. Bjorn says, imagine the traders in India or Indonesia doing this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, trading nickels. A buddy of mine makes hundreds of Ks and spend tens of Ks buying tons of evals 5 at a time. I mean, look, I will buy 5 at a time, but again, I don't know. I just think it's, to me, okay, the way I look at evals, let's finish it up on that note. If you blow up 5 evals and you don't get any payouts out of them, and then you get another 5 evals and you get maybe 1 payout, to me that doesn't make sense business-wise, because it's a negative risk reward, because on all the activation fees, if you are with a company that has activation fees, or the evals that are more expensive, and with the max limits for per payout that we have right now, unless you can extract payouts from each and every account that you purchased, I kind of don't see the point of buying them in bulk. I will be honest, right? So I have to always, whenever I'm purchasing new evals, I have to make sure that I'm not just throwing them away as if they're tissue paper. I want to make sure that my return on what I've spent will come back to me and then some. Okay, and I don't want to see 2-to-1 risk return. I want to see like 10-to-1. So if I spend 200, I have to see at least a 2K payout on that account alone. If I spend $39, $59, like on Apex, I will still see a 2K payout. And that's the reason why people still go for Apex, because it's still bloody cheap. Even with the activation fee, maybe, like I actually got the activation fee for cheapo as well. So again, you can buy them for, let's say, $39 an eval, $60 evaluation, activation fee. Again, and you get $2,000 payout. So that's the way I look at it. It doesn't matter what the money side of things is. It has to be very, very positive return. Otherwise, what's the point, right? You're just throwing money, burning money like it's nothing. So maybe I'm, maybe I'm conservative that way. Maybe that's my female side, because I'm not very feminine in many things, but I think in my buying evals, I'm definitely more risk-minded. However, I can be totally insane when it comes to position sizing. I can be easily in like 4 coppers sometimes if I'm like seeing a setup that I've seen a million times. Oh yeah, I will. And sometimes it doesn't work, but a lot of the times it does, and that's good enough for me. So yeah, I'm pretty aggressive. I'm pretty aggressive when the opportunity is right. Most of the time, I will stick to, a position size that I've designated as a part of the plan. But if the opportunity is there, we're traders. You have to take it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and go, no, I'm not going to trade 3 micro. It's like, no, let's go. Yeah, exactly. Bjorn is right. At that point, you aren't evaluating anything. You're buying lottery tickets. Yeah. Trading Nickel says, I think I might be an oddity. My accuracy changes very little across up to 8 random hours of checking charts per day. But Trading Nickels, you are profitable, and you've been, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you've been trading for years, dude, right? Like, I've known you at least for 2 years on the streams, so you must have been trading for longer than that. And that means experience. So you see, I also don't have too much variation these days. I used to have it, and I still have one part of the day where I suck, and that's the NYMEX initial balance. Still suck, like terrible. But when you look at my edge wonk, it's like pretty evenly distributed, because again, I have these strategies that are per time of day. So I have Asia, that is either a breakout or fade, right? Depends on the time of day. Then I have the Shanghai close, that's also some sort of a fade. Surprise, surprise, mean reversion trader. Then I have the London session LME copper, where normally it's either a breakout, typically it's a breakout, but you can also get a fade if we've already moved way past. And then you have the fade, yet another fade, into the London Open. So, when you break it down that way, I don't actually have too many fuck-ups throughout the day. However, you take the same data from a novice trader who's not as consistent and doesn't have a clearly defined strategy, they're all over the place. And the longer the day goes on, the more red you see statistically over time. That's the mental capital just kind of checking out, yeah. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. I'm slowly starting, yeah, exactly, trading nickels. True, been trading for 7 years. Yeah, it's not the same. We can't, we can't take somebody who's been trading for 7 years and somebody who's been trading for a year. That's not the same set of skills, Why do doctors spend 13 years until they can get their own practice? It's the same thing, not the same skill. So you are, for all intents and purposes, you're an experienced trader with 7 years experience. It's a lot of years, right? All right, before I start to melt, I'm going to sign off. And yes, I'm going to try and play that song of mine. I don't know whether I played it last time. I think maybe I did. I don't know. But I am going to play Dirty Habit. That is my rock song. That is me playing the guitar, programming the drums, singing, writing the lyrics, and my friend Vincent on bass. I will see you probably next Tuesday. If it's another heat wave, we're going to be doing another Tokyo session, but keep your eyes peeled on the schedule. you know, if I decide to do another Tokyo session, it will be around about this time. So, you know, half an hour into Tokyo session. If not, I will see you at 7 a.m. Eastern if the weather is cooler and I can breathe during the day. But it remains to be seen. It's up to the crazy UK weather. When am I going to stream? I wish that I was more consistent and I'm just going to be like, yeah, from now on, we're just doing Tokyo. But I do have stuff to do during the day. So, you know, sadly, I have 7 dogs to take care of and a couple of businesses to run. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. This was the Metal Markets. I'm Market Stalker D, and I will see you again next week on probably Tuesday. Take care.